So my talk today on resilience is very much from a personal point of view. So I'm going to share with you some of the challenges that I've faced over the last few years, both from a personal and professional perspective, and a few reflections on how I've got through these. They're not exactly top tips, because I think this is a very personal thing. So I think you work out how you get through your tough times, but maybe there'll be one or two experiences that I can share that may be helpful or at least interesting for you. And then but I think the emotional side of resilience, that emotional strength, is the one that is hardest to understand, and certainly from my experience hardest to build. And what I have found is actually it's by facing the tough times that we build that emotional strength. So the good news, I suppose, is that when you're going through a challenging time in your life, whether that's from a personal or professional point of view, getting through that then kind of builds up that memory bank of those difficult times, and the knowledge that you've got through them gives you confidence to face future challenges. It wasn't by choice. So about halfway through the tour, 3 months in, the Warrior vehicle you can see in the photograph was struck by an IED, which very sadly killed one of the soldiers in the back and injured 4 of us. We were evacuated initially back to Camp Bastion Hospital, where we were for about 36 hours, and then from there back to the UK to the main hospital in Birmingham. And a couple of days later, I was faced with a fairly frank conversation with my consultant, who explained the extent of my injuries. So I thought that I had broken my leg. So thank goodness I didn't become a doctor, which was my first thought of career, because it turned out to be a little more serious than that. And he explained that my foot, my heel, my ankle were a jigsaw of fractures. And he could try to fuse the ankle, but I'd probably walk with a stick and be in pain on a daily basis. And that certainly wasn't the kind of future that that 4-year-old little girl that you saw the picture of earlier imagined for herself. So perhaps slightly boldly, I asked him what the alternative was. And he explained that he could amputate my leg below the knee, and obviously I would wear a prosthetic limb. So I remember asking him whether with a prosthetic I'd be able to do 3 things. Would I be able to run? Would I be able to play tennis? And would I be able to ski? And he answered very simply, yes. And so I replied, well, that's fine then. And I had the operation the next day. And so I thought I'd share with you my experience from 5 years ago now, which was when I decided to take part in an expedition to the South Pole. My primary reason for this was for the focus that it would give me for my rehabilitation. So I spent 16 months rehabbing, and then I actually went back into military service. I was then very focused on re-establishing myself professionally amongst my peers, which I did. I achieved promotion alongside them, and I was really proud of myself for that. But I did feel like I wasn't achieving what I wanted to physically, and you know, what had made that decision to lose my leg so straightforward, I wasn't really achieving. So I had some further surgery, and whilst I was recovering from that, I received the invitation to apply for the South Pole expedition. So this was one that I heard a couple of years ago, which I quite like, is to explore your discomfort zone to expand your comfort zone. I like the idea that, you know, there's sort of a line in the sand, if you like, that you step across, and that'll be different for everybody. You know, how you make yourself uncomfortable is different for everybody, and whether you do that through a personal or a professional challenge, it doesn't matter. Just find out where that line is for you and be prepared to step across it. You know, I talked about building up that memory bank of tough times to particularly help build the emotional side of your resilience. And I really do think that, you know, you gain confidence from having been through some tough times, and they really enable you to face the future challenges more confidently. And I mentioned earlier about, you know, it's fine to let yourself wallow and feel a bit sorry for yourself for a little while, but you certainly don't want to be doing it every day. And I've found it's always helpful to think to yourself that there's always somebody worse off than you. You know, I mentioned Ivan on the expedition. I mean, he was definitely having a more miserable time than me. So rather than sort of wallowing and being kept down by your setbacks, you know, think about what's really worth worrying about, recognizing that things could always be worse, and so actually focusing your energy and attention on how to make things better. And if I ever need a reminder of that, then I just think back to my days at Headley Court, where I did my rehabilitation. And there I was called Captain Papercut by my fellow patients, because I was just a single below knee amputee. And it is important to celebrate your success. I mentioned that I struggled a little bit with not skiing, you know, all of the distance and feeling like I'd failed. I had to spend quite a bit of time sort of reframing what success looked like for me. But it is important, to press that pause button and to acknowledge and celebrate what you have achieved. I think we can all be guilty of just moving on to the next goal straight away.